In the competitive world of real estate, finding the right brokerage is absolutely crucial. In today's video, we're going to be shedding light on LPT Realty to find out if it is the right business model for you. As a real estate agent myself that has been to multiple different brokerages, there are a lot of things that we are looking for when we are considering a switch to a new brokerage. So I narrowed that list down to the top 10 that I find most important personally, and I think most real estate professionals would agree. But if I am missing something in this video, don't hesitate to put it in the comment section down below. I'd love to touch on your topic in a separate video. First and foremost, probably the biggest thing that most of us real estate professionals focus on is the commission. What does the commission look like? Is the commission split going to be good for what I'm looking for? If you're going to be taking a lion's share of my commission, what are you providing back to me that I'm either getting time back or earning more money in the long run? So here at LPT Realty, there are several different pathways you can go on, which was one of the biggest deciding factors for me moving my entire team down here. And when I was asking them if they'd like to make the switch after I presented everything, I got a resounding yes from every single member on my team without hesitation. And a lot of it was due to this commission split. So depending on which avenue you go on, you actually have different pathways you can choose at LPT Realty. And there's three of them that I want to talk about today. The first one is an 80-20 split. This is the rev share model, as we call it. So to be on the rev share model, it's an 80-20 split. You're going to pay 20% to the brokerage until you cap out at $15,000. Once you've earned $15,000 at LPT Realty, you don't have to worry about making another payment to them for the rest of your year. And the advantage here is you get to participate in revenue share. You also get some bonuses with stock options, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The second big option for most real estate agents in this model is the business builder model. So what this one is a per transaction model basis. Every single time you do a transaction, you pay in $500 until you cap out at $5,000. At $5,000, you are capped and you don't pay another penny for the rest of your year. And the third model I'd like to talk about as well is the affiliate brokerage model. So if you've got a big brokerage, or maybe even a boutique brokerage, a luxury brokerage or something like that, but you still really like what you're hearing in these videos, you're liking the LPT model, but you don't want to give up everything, you don't want to give up your name, you've got presence in your marketplace, then the affiliate brokerage model is for you. You get to keep the name that you've got on your front door. They're not even going to require you to put powered by or anything like that, but you are going to get the benefits on the back end of LPT Realty. The idea of this stemmed from the luxury brokerages that are sitting in a marketplace that don't want to lose their name for a name that maybe they haven't heard of as much. As LPT is just starting to grow, 6,000 plus agents in 20 months, it's not as popular as some of the really big name brands, and definitely not as popular in your marketplace for your brand. So that's exactly what this one is intended for. Now, the commission breakdown is only one part of the equation. Another big important piece for me to help supplement my team and my team agents and make sure they've got the necessary resources they need is training and education. As we all know, for the last couple of decades, training and education has been so vitally important to a brokerage that it's one of the biggest keys that people look for. And LPT is doing it right. One of my favorite ways to get some of this training done is through some of the Facebook groups that we have all created for our downlines or what have you. The cool thing is, though, is you don't need to necessarily join somebody that's in one of these groups in order to get the training. For instance, one of the Facebook groups I'm in, I'm not even a part of anybody in the upline. That's perfectly fine. It is designed to be that way, but they're still doing 3 different training blocks per week from people that are actually doing the business, and they're giving away their secrets. Like, there's no holds barred. Like, they are giving it all the way down to the nitty-gritty stuff that I would generally have to pay a large sum of money to learn from somebody. They're going on there and they're giving it free just to spread the word and just to help out their fellow agents. On top of that, the brokerage itself provides many different training opportunities as well. One of those is the Agent Power Up program. So if you're a little bit newer in the industry and you'd like to have a little bit of extra training, week by week, the Agent Power Up seems to be doing very well. In fact, I talked to different agents in several different states that LPT has opened in, and they are saying really good things about the Agent Power Up program. This is a series of different videos and live webinars that they can join to make sure that they're on the right track. It is generally intended for a newer agent, although anybody can really join the Agent Power Up, and they put put all of those videos inside of our technology basic, our little app that we have, so you can always watch that stuff if you need a little bit of a refresher. And then if you want some one-on-one mentorship, we have it. We've got one-on-one mentorship throughout this entire company. So no matter where you're at, you can get a mentor. And this is different than other brokerages that I've been at before. This is not a knock to EXP, but when I was there, it seemed like they were just letting anybody with a license become a mentor and then take a lion's share of that agent's business because it was a requirement for them. So, hey, why not? I'll help out this person. I'll take a couple of phone calls and I'll take some extra money from them. Not my favorite way to do business. Here, it's a little bit different with the mentorship program. You need to be vetted, and a lot of the mentors are part of corporate. It's not just some random agent, and they want to make sure that you're actually helping and supporting that professional. Now, the mentorship program does come with a little bit different of a split, so you're not necessarily going to be on the same split I talked about before for commission-wise, but it is a really good way to go ahead and get started and have that person that you can call and talk to in one-on-one meetings and things like that so that you can make sure that your business is thriving. And for the agents that want to break into luxury, they have their own luxury division with its own training. You don't have to join these. These are given, they're pushed, they're free. But if you did want some one-on-one mentorship in the luxury division, then they have options for that as well. Now, you do have to give that mentor some commission, just like in the mentorship program, but these are people that are actively in the luxury space selling high-dollar properties, and a lot of them that you can learn from specifically. You can use some of their same tools. They basically are an open book to like, hey, here's how I do my business. Here's how I suggest you do it. They'll be on phone calls with you. They'll help you in the listing appointment, securing the deal, all of that great stuff. So if you're looking to break into luxury, this is an outstanding place to be. And then, of course, they've got weekly training. They've got actually multiple of them. So we do a Motivation Monday every single week. Generally, our CEO and founder, Robert Palmer, is on those calls, and he's giving his insights to big things that are happening. And then they've got 2 other ones throughout the week that I'm aware of, and there's probably more. I'm not really generally doing too much of their training and education just because of the stage I'm at. However, there is a lot of them going on. So now that we kind of talked about the different training and education points, let's talk about our next topic, which is the tools and technology that you are given here at LPT. I'm not going to hit this one too hard. There are a bunch of tools and a bunch of different smaller technologies and stuff that they're providing to us, but there are 3 that I really want to hit on. And they're the 3 that most brokerages provide, just because I want to make sure that you know that you're getting the main 3 and also which platforms they are. Number 1 is your CRM, your customer resource management, client relationship management, however you want to call it. They provide us with Chime. Now, the cool thing with Chime is it's an all-in-one platform. You can even run your transactions out of it, put people under contract, put documents inside of it, and as well as you get your website, you get your IDX feed, you get the actual CRM portion where it's going to help you nurture your leads, send auto emails, market reports, home valuations, and things like that. And on top of that, Chime allows you to do anything else that you want that would help your business, such as purchasing buyer leads, seller leads, help with building out your website, and so much more at literally the click of a button. They are looking at giving us Follow-Up Boss as well, but I think we're still in negotiations on that, so I'm not sure where that's landed as of the time I'm shooting this video, but it should be any day now. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is your transaction management items, and that is done here at this company in Dotloop. I'm not going to touch on that too much more. Most real estate professionals that have been in this industry for a while know what Dotloop is. A bunch of companies use it. It's one of the most popular platforms for transaction management. They've set it up to where it's nice and easy. Every single time you do a transaction, it's got everything you need right inside of it. And lastly is the LPT Connect. Now, this is our own kind of proprietary app. It works on the desktop and on mobile very easily, so you can run your entire business right from your mobile phone. You don't need to worry about getting to a computer to access all of the tools. And this is going to give you access to everything. The listing power toolbox that I'm going to talk about here in just a second, your revenue share, your transactions, your help, your support, your training, everything is in one spot and super easy to get to. Number 4 on my list is support and mentorship. Support and mentorship is so wildly important in real estate, and it's one of the most underlooked items. We think that every brokerage has really good support and really good mentorship, and that is just not true. As somebody that's been to 4 different brokerages in the last 9 years, I can tell you support and mentorship is so important and so overlooked, and we always think that it's better than it actually is. I can tell you from personal experience, the support here at LPT Realty is insanely good. In fact, it is the best out of all 4 brokerages, and I'm not just saying that for this video, it actually is. Not only do you get your questions answered very quickly through a multitude of different ways, you can call, text, email, or submit a ticket. Generally, I just use the ticket system because I just want to submit something and move on unless it's something a little bit bigger, but they are on the spot on this. In fact, my second or third deal here at LPT last year when I first switched over, I had a real estate professional on the other side of the deal decide they just don't want to pay me the proper amount of commission that they put in the multiple listing service. I went ahead and submitted a ticket to the brokerage team, and I had 2 people call me within about 8 minutes. Like, it was that quick. And they fixed the issue within about an hour and a half. Now, this other person was going back and forth with them, trying to give them all sorts of reasons on why they didn't want to pay me. And they ultimately went down to, well, I felt my seller needed more money.
What?
As we all know, that's not a very good excuse. And had she brought that to my attention, maybe I would have tweaked it a little bit. I don't know. It wasn't a whole lot in the first place. It was kind of a lower price land deal, but it was just the fact of the matter, and they rectified it just like that. That is support. At previous brokerages, when I had this issue, it went on for over a week. And of course, you've got this support 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Now, you can't just call somebody 24 hours a day. That's not necessarily going to be there. But the ticketing system, the emails, the text, stuff like that, you can do just about any time. I already talked a little bit about the mentorship program, but that is another thing to add into this list. A lot of companies don't have something like this, or maybe they just pair you with somebody that's been doing the business quite a lot, and they're just used to having just this random new person in the brokerage following them around and asking them a bunch of questions. They're not really involved in your success. Here at LPT, however, they are, and they actually want to help you. I don't know what that looks like as it grows. I know a lot of different companies, as they grow bigger and bigger and bigger, more things start falling through the cracks. But what's really cool is we are growing very, very quickly, and nothing is falling through the cracks yet. So the leadership is really staying on top of it. And of course, you can get help from your upline, or of course, if you're building revenue share, from your downline. This is a very collaborative environment that we are in. It is so cool to see. I've never been part of a brokerage that is as collaborative as LPT is. And lastly, you've got the Facebook groups that we are all a part of, and Nexuses. Nexuses are kind of like a little intermediary between the solo agent and the brokerage. It's kind of like being on a team. I use that super loosely, but it's sort of a middle ground there where if you like something that a Nexus is doing and you want to participate in it, you can participate at however they're splitting that up. Maybe they're taking 5% of your commission, maybe they're taking 30, I don't know, but it just depends on what they're providing for you in that block in between. These aren't fully rolled out yet, so I'm very interested to see how it actually gets utilized once they are, but it is a very interesting topic to me. And of course, the Facebook groups that we have going on, they're always engaging. People are posting questions in there all the time. It's an agent-run community, so we're saying things that like maybe need to be tweaked, and leadership is on it. And my favorite part about the Facebook groups in general is that Robert Palmer, our CEO and founder, is in there answering questions. Like questions that a CEO and founder probably doesn't need to waste their time with, but he is so involved into this company that he is still providing value in there. And he's still making tweaks based on the suggestions of the agents. Next, I want to talk about brand reputation. As anybody that's been in a brokerage that doesn't have great brand reputation knows, brand reputation is important. If you walk into a listing appointment and nobody's heard of your brand, or they don't have a good reputation as a whole, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get a signed agreement or whatever you're doing in your business. Brand reputation is key. So first and foremost, LPT Realty, although not huge, not the biggest company in the world yet, it is the fastest growing brokerage that has ever existed in the United States of America. 6,000 plus people in 20 months. It is unheard of. It took most companies 7 to 30 years to get that big that quick. So clearly we're doing something right, and this isn't my opinion, this is empirical fact just based on the numbers. The second thing on brand reputation is the reputation within the agents. We are real estate first, not recruiting first, not blast everybody and try to build a rev share first. Real estate first. The real estate first model really attracted me because that's what I do. I don't really care as much about the rev share, although obviously I'm doing videos to help other people come into this brokerage. That is not my main intent. My main intent is real estate first. So I absolutely Loved that. At a previous brokerage I was at, EXP, as much as I like them, they were so in tune with recruiting, and so many people were just trying and cold calling and sending emails and just blowing people's inboxes up because they were trying to build their revenue share, that they weren't focusing on business, which is insane to me because we got into this for real estate, not for recruiting. And it kind of gave us a bad name. I never liked that. Sometimes I'd be calling just to find out information on a property, and I'd get the other person a little bit hesitant. As soon as they heard the words EXP Realty, they were going, oh, what do you want? Like the tone changed. It wasn't like that when I first joined, but as it got bigger and bigger, it definitely turned into that. I'm hoping that LPT does not turn into that down the road with this real estate first idea, motto, whatever you want to call it. I'm hoping that that always kind of stays that way. And of course, our leadership has outstanding reputation. For anybody that knows Robert Palmer or his backstory, he started out in lending and kind of maneuvered over into this, made his wealth during that portion, and he's got great reputation. It is very hard to find bad things to say about Robert Palmer, and his leadership and his leadership team is no exception. Now we talked about a bunch of different items, but Mongo, what about lead generation? I want to make sure I get leads because maybe I'm newer in the industry, or I just want that extra layer of support. LPT has you covered. First and foremost, I believe as the time that I'm shooting this video, they're the #1 purchaser of Zillow leads. I don't care how you feel about that. You can have good feelings, bad feelings, what have you. Zillow's the enemy, Zillow's the best. I don't particularly care. It's something that is offered to us. And if that helps drive your bottom line, then that's great for your business. You are obviously going to have to pay a premium for that. You're going to have to pay that percentage, but it's still a great addition. And of course, if you don't like them, you can turn them off. Secondly is homevalue.com. So what Robert Palmer is trying to do is turn homevalues.com or homevalue.com into the Zillow for sellers, because we don't really have that. Like, think about where a seller goes to get information and to basically be the Zillow version of that, except for them instead of for buyers. That's exactly what we're trying to turn homevalue.com into. And the lead flow from homevalue.com has actually been pretty good, surprisingly, especially for the fact that they haven't really blown it up yet. It's a tool that we have. I didn't expect it to take off like it did. I probably get multiple text messages a week that just says, hey, you got a new homevalue.com lead, and I don't even have leads turned on. This is just from the efforts that they're doing for our sellers that we are getting information on. And with these two items, the lead flow is fairly strong. I don't have leads turned on myself just because of the way it's got to get done. It has to filter through me before I can push it through my agents. And unfortunately, my time is just better spent somewhere else than answering the phones trying to turn leads. But when I did have it on just to try it out, it was a pretty healthy amount. I got 10 leads in 7 days. And we did close one of those because of the type of lead it was. The conversion rate on those is fairly high, and the price point on them were even better. We were averaging about $890,000 price points. I think that's just dumb luck. I'm not sure, maybe the area that we're in, but my average price point on this team is just shy of $400,000. So to get stuff that averaged almost $900 was a nice, healthy, fun thing to see. And then there are some other options that you can do yourself that you guys are kind of paired up with. One of those is the LPT listing box. So with every single one of our listings, you can get this whole box of like roughly 200 different marketing pieces, from postcards, thank you cards, business cards, flyers, magazines, door hangers, just a bunch of different stuff for every listing. All you need to do is pay for shipping. So, the price on these are going to vary depending on where you're at. If you're closer to South Florida where the plant is, I've heard it be as low as $8 for shipping, versus where I'm at in this portion of Florida. I'm in the Panhandle. It's about $20. I haven't heard anybody say it's more than $20 for shipping, but maybe it is if you're somewhere else across the country where it's got to make a little bit more distance between the plant and you. But these are really cool. I'm going to be completely honest. We have not been utilizing them the way that they should be, but I am hearing a ton of stuff from a lot of the different leaders in the company, like leaders being like sales leaders, not corporate, not people that work for the company that are meant to push this, but from the other sales leaders, these other teams that are selling 1,000+ homes a year. They're loving these LPT boxes. It gets you out into the community, dropping off items that are all dedicated to your specific home. Like, there are actual photos of your home. They do a cool little text me sign writer that you can put on all of your properties as well. So you can drive by, text a certain number, and you gather all of that information from that person. And I touched on this super briefly before, but you also have all of the opportunity in Chime to purchase leads through them. We're loving them. They work very well. Previously, we were paying another company to do it, and I don't notice much of a difference. The conversion rate's roughly the same, and the cost is a little bit cheaper. Okay, now all of this is great, but what does a work environment look like? That's the next subject I want to hit. For a lot of you guys, a work environment is going to be just what you're used to. If you're coming from a cloud-based brokerage, an EXP, a Real, Compass, any of those that are generally cloud-based, it's going to feel the same. For those that have not joined a cloud-based brokerage before, this could be a little bit of a culture shock. It's considerably different than going into an office, sitting around the water cooler, and talking with other people that are inside of that brokerage. Now, that's part of what keeps the fees low, is that we're cloud-based. But it is a little bit of a shock to people that were used to stepping in and actually talking to a human every time they have an issue or just kind of BSing throughout the day. Personally, when I switched from a big box brokerage that had brick and mortars to EXP at the time, it was actually a very welcome change for me because there was a lot of wasted time at that brick and mortar. And now that I'm over at LPT, it's obviously the exact same. Cloud-based brokerages to me are actually very important. I was very hesitant at first, but I'm actually really loving it. I don't have to worry about somebody coming up to me, listening to me, figuring out what I'm doing, trying to duplicate the things I'm doing. I'm trying to cold call in the office or doing something like that, which I don't really do anymore. But when I was, it was kind of irritating. Somebody else would be yelling at the cubicle next to me. It drove me batshit. Now, if you do want a brick and mortar, you're perfectly allowed to do that. I'm currently sitting in my studio at my office that I pay for, that LPT has their name and everything on. You just got to get it approved. It didn't take very much. I had to follow all the rules for my state, obviously, and that was really it. And for those of you that want to offer a space to more LPT agents in your area, they do have programs that they will absorb some of your cost if that's something that you'd like to do. Now, when we're talking about work environment, another thing to consider is the culture itself. When you switch to a cloud-based brokerage, sometimes the culture can take a little bit of a hit because, well, you're not around each other all the freaking time. But LPT has made sure that they have put stuff in place to make that culture strong. Outside of the online presence, the Facebook groups and stuff that I talked about before, which are extremely active, they also have some other options that make it a little bit awesome. They also, depending on the area that you're in, have meetups and things like that. So some of them are recruiting events, which, it's good to spread the word, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are just meet up and hang out events. In fact, here in our local area, we're just sort of doing a realtors get together and talk about your successes and wins and bounce some ideas off other real estate agents. It's not LPT specific. It's kind of open to everybody. And it's just there to kind of help the culture a little bit. And number 8 on my list is fees and expenses, because the commission split aren't the only fees that you might have to worry about with a brokerage. In fact, transparency is very important to me, and that's why I'm going to lay it all out on the table here. I was at previous brokerages, EXP being one of them, where transparency was not part of the equation. So when we're talking about fees and expenses here at LPT, one of the big ticket items that we need to discuss is the $195 LPT fee for any core transaction, which is basically just a residential home or something. It's excluding land and commercial. Those are a little bit different. But any general transaction you have, somebody is being charged a $195 fee. We generally push that off to our clients. That's how it is supposed to be. It is meant to push that onto your buyer, push that onto your seller. This is an extra fee that my brokerage charges. But if you're working with, let's say, a lot of VA borrowers, which is something that my team does very heavily because we're right outside of the largest Air Force base in the country, landmass, not population-wise. But we're not allowed to charge that $195 fee because it is additional commissions. So a lot of times that gets absorbed by the agent if we don't get the seller to pay for it. And this $195 doesn't go away. It just continues on and on. Don't worry, other brokerages have this as well. In fact, at EXP, it was considerably higher. It was $250 for a while, and then after you sold however many homes, and it dropped a little bit, then it dropped a little bit more after more homes, and it just kept going on and on, but the fees were still there. We're still spending far less on these extra fees here at LPT than we did at previous brokerages. But if that bugs you, well, that's something that you need to take note of. And of course, you've got to pay for the shipping on the LPT boxes, the listing power toolbox, all the cool marketing material they give us. You do have to pay shipping on that, which I talked about, but I don't really think that's a fee that we really need to consider. And lastly, any additional leads or anything else you want to purchase that way through Chime or anything like that, that is an expense that is 100% on you. The company will not participate in those. Now, there are some exceptions to certain things that go on. But for the most part, that's it. I mean, you're still getting free billboards and all the other $11,000 plus marketing things that they do for you every single year. So all in all, I think it's a huge, huge win. Number 9 on my list is earning potential, because outside of the actual real estate sales that you're going to do, having extra earning potential is a really good thing. So outside of the great commission splits that I've already touched on, there are 2 other main ways to make extra revenue here. One of those is revenue share. So that's by bringing on agents underneath you and then you getting a small portion of company dollar to your account every time they sell a property. So LPT does give away 50% of every dollar, or has the option to give away 50% if you've got all 7 layers built out. The 7 layers for the revenue share is considerably easier to get to than EXP, which is, I'm only comparing them because that's where I was at before, so I'm not picking on them or anything, but it is a lot easier to get. I believe we're at 20. So once you get 20 people in your front line that are selling, you open up all 7 levels, whereas I believe EXP just lowered theirs to 30. It was 40 for a very long time, and then they dropped it a little bit, which didn't really help a whole lot of people, but the 20 is very easily attainable. And then the person underneath you, you're making money on, and for 6 more underneath that, you are also earning money on every time that they sell something, at least until they are capped, and then that money flow stops. But it is still an extra revenue source, and I can tell you from experience, I don't really do a whole lot of recruiting other than this channel that I'm kind of doing a little bit on, obviously, in full transparency, but I've still had 28 people join me just from word of mouth before any of this happened, and that equates to approximately $1,200 a month is what I've been averaging. Not a whole lot of money, but for the fact that I'm just doing my job and people are just calling me because LPT is new and they're hearing all these great things, it's kind of nice because I'm not doing a whole lot of effort for it, and it's bringing in extra revenue for my team. The second thing I want to talk about is the stock option. So right now we are pre-IPO, which means if you type in what is LPT stock ticker like on the market right now, you're not going to see anything. We are not officially on the market, but we are earning shares of stock in the company. So at certain levels, I believe it's 1, 3, 15, and 35, or 10 and 35 sales, something like that. When you hit those core transactions, you will get a large bump in your stock share. Of course, the higher you go, the better. At 35 sales, it's called Black Badge. It's kind of like a little bit like the Icon agent over at EXP, or any number of different brokerages that have this. It's kind of the higher echelon of things. It is intended for the top 1% of the company. That is obviously going to be your largest chunk of stock. And then anytime you bring somebody into the company, you will also get stock for that. And the next thing I want to touch on is long-term viability. Is this brokerage going to be around forever? This is a huge question that I don't think enough real estate agents ask themselves when they're looking at a brokerage. Big companies can fail. We've seen multiple other cloud-based brokerages on the brink of failing already. Redfin's not doing super hot right now. Compass kind of had some issues that looked like maybe they kind of fixed them. They were hemorrhaging money for a little bit, and there were several others. Every time I go to Inman, you generally see these numbers, and you see so many companies getting hurt right now and just getting shoved revenue into it from different sources in order to keep it up. So we want to make sure that our company is long-term viable, because if it looks like they start crashing or they're not doing so hot, they have to start taking away from their agents, which is exactly what we've seen in the past. And it also needs to fit with your lifestyle long-term, because if your life circumstance changes, you need a brokerage that can adjust with you, or you've got to go find a new brokerage that matches with your new style. And with LPT having the split model where you do the $5,000 cap or the $15,000 cap, those two are specifically intended for you to have a brokerage for life, which is why you hear us at LPT say the brokerage for life model, because that's exactly what it is. So let's say you're part-time right now and you're on the $500 model, $500 per transaction until you cap at $5,000, because you're part-time and you're trying to work up enough to make the jump out of your job into real estate full-time. That is a season of life that you're in. Why would you pay 20% per transaction when you're not doing a whole lot of them? That's taking a huge chunk of the change that you're making, and you're not really using many of the resources. It's kind of unfair. So we've got that for that section of your life. Whereas when you make the jump and you're ready to start adding in revenue share, you want more stock options because you do get more based on which side you're on, then you can jump into that model. Start collecting that revenue share. Start collecting more shares of stock, because now you're selling a lot more and it is not as harmful to you as it was when you were part-time. And let's say 5-10 years down the road, bing, you're pregnant, you've got a new kid, you want to take a little bit of time off, or maybe your wife does, maybe you need to do some extra things, or you just want to take a year off and go to Cancun or something for a while. You can do that, switch to the other model, and you're perfectly fine. Now you're not taking a lion's share cut anymore of that 20%. Now you're back down to the 500. And yes, you can swap back and forth between the two. In your first year here at LPT Realty, you can swap at any time. You feel like you made a mistake, you want to go to the other one? Cool, got it. And then after that, you can switch once per year. So you can bounce back and forth. You think maybe you want to build revenue share and you don't have any right now, and 6 months goes by and you've only recruited a couple of people and it's not enough to cover the difference? Cool. Swap to the other one. Go back to Business Builder. There's nothing wrong with that. We encourage you to do that because we want to make sure that we've got a platform for you for life. And on the topic of long-term viability, knowing what the company actually does itself and how they're running their business is super important. Now, any brokerage has a number for how much it costs them in salaries and everything else that they're doing to close a transaction. LPT's is the lowest I have ever heard of. I'm not going to give the number here because I don't know if that's allowed, but I'll tell you this, it is less than half of what our closest cloud-based competitor is. Now, we are a little bit smaller. I expect that number to go up over time. I don't know if our CEO and founder feels that same way. Maybe I'm incorrect, but I think that number is going to go up over time a little bit, but I don't think it's ever going to even touch some of the other ones. In fact, when we're looking at cost to close a transaction, eXp, a cloud-based brokerage, is higher than Keller Williams, a non-cloud-based brokerage. Just to put it in perspective, cloud-based should always be cheaper because you're not having to add in the actual brick and mortar business into that number. And on the topic of long-term viability, it is currently the fastest growing brokerage that this country has ever seen. I talked about this already. It's just a fact. It's just numbers. That's it. And as it continues, it's going to get stronger and stronger that way, and it's going to add into that viability. And the crazy part about this is they're the fastest growing brokerage that's ever existed, and we're not even open in every single state yet. When some of these other ones that previously held the title for this fastest growing brokerage, they were in all 50 states immediately. We started out in one. And in that one state, we became the fastest growing brokerage to ever exist. So I can only imagine what happens as we start pushing more and more and more. It is not going to surprise me at all when we exceed 200,000 agents. In fact, I believe Robert Palmer, our CEO and founder, is pushing for 1 million agents in this company. And if they continue doing things the way they're doing them, they are absolutely going to hit that. Now, if you have any questions about LPT Realty, you want to talk to me further, all of my information will pop up on the screen. I am happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you. I will also put my Calendly link below. You can click right on that and get right into my calendar. So I hope this is helpful for some of you guys. Whether or not a cloud-based brokerage like this is for you or not doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure you guys have the information. So again, hit me up and we can chat about it. See ya.